Hello. Hi, good morning, everyone. Um, Thank you for a great introduction, Salman. My name is Ghulam Raza. I work as CFO at Abu Dhabi Finance. Abu Dhabi Finance is a small mortgage finance company based in UAE. We offer residential and commercial mortgage financing to people, individual companies who intend to buy properties within UAE. So as a small organization, there are a lot of challenges and benefits as well. And one of the key benefits that we have is it makes us, agile, it makes us unique, and it also helps drive automation and digitalization. As CFO of the organization, I look after finance, which is obvious, right? And then on top of that, I also look after information technology, information security, change management, whereby we take care of technological and non-technological initiatives within the company. And that is where I link it with the strategy of the organization as well. So it was so, interesting while hearing about what Sakar was mentioning about blockchain. And he did mention that, he spends 3 hours a day reading about blockchain and still he's not an expert. Well, if I would be reading 3 hours a day something, I would have done PhD in something, So that tells you how difficult and how challenging blockchain technology is. And even after reading for 15 hours a week, he doesn't claim he's an expert, which is too humble of him. The other thing that he said was, blockchain is not a disruptor. I disagree to that. Because anything which is going to change the foundation is going to disrupt. So imagine if you're trying to change the foundation of your house, it will disrupt your house and you won't have a house. So today, I'm going to discuss two major disruptors that we have in the banking and financial services sector. One, of course, is blockchain. And the other one, which I know it's nothing to do with the conference, is RPAs, which is robotic process automation. And the reason I picked these two up is because these are really disrupting the financial services sector. The way banks deal, the way transactions are happening, the way data flows from one place to another, and the way customers interact with the banks and financial services sector. So let's start with what is blockchain. In very simple terms, I know Sakar gave an overview as well, but in a very simple terms, these are distributed ledger, which is integrated and replicated across different systems using network. So the key is it uses network, right? But it is really secure because of the nature of the system. It's encrypted and it's immute. So the immutability of the system ensures that hacking and penetration is really difficult. The blockchain allows users, participants, to update the records, view the records simultaneously. So you don't have to wait for one person to update, view, save, and all this kind of stuff. So it's online and it's real time. It makes the system doesn't allow people, to make changes to the historical records. So the audit trail is maintained because one of the key element that we have, or one of the key things that we have to take into consideration is that it has to have an audit trail. So when the auditors comes in or whoever tries to review it, they see historical data. Now, the blockchain technology, and Sakar mentioned that, is being widely used or in UAE. There are a lot of case studies that are there, which I'm going to briefly take you through. There are companies within UAE, and he mentioned a couple of them, which are using the blockchain technology. So from the banking sector, Emirates NBD is right now working on a pilot project to use the blockchain technology for remittance business. On the other hand, Dubai Lands Department is in the process of implementing blockchain technology for recording all the real estate transaction and data. In the next slide, I have a short video which explains what are the major threats to the banking sector because of the blockchain technology. So we'll move on to the video.
A financial revolution is coming. Blockchain, the technology that underpins digital currency Bitcoin, has the potential to disrupt a range of financial markets, transforming banking and business models as we know them. Blockchain's unique shared ledger system means that transactions can be made, recorded and verified publicly within a secure digital ledger without the need for separate checks by a middleman. As a result, blockchain could deliver huge savings in cost and time for banks in areas such as securities and derivative transactions, improving quality and trust in settlements, payment processing and clearing. Bearing Point estimates that an average 24-hour processing time would be slashed to just 1/10 of a second, while an average transaction cost of €40 could be cut to just €5. Meanwhile, industry figures suggest that blockchain could save up to €18 billion a year in banking infrastructure costs by 2022. Blockchain's open source software means the technology can be readily adopted and developed by agile new players, such as fintech startups, who are relishing the opportunity to grab market share. Recognizing this threat, many banks, trading platforms and clearinghouses are already partnering with startups to explore the potential of blockchain. It is estimated that the financial industry as a whole is set to spend around €880 million on blockchain initiatives in 2016. Implementation will be complex, however. Legacy systems will need to be replaced with a single peer-to-peer platform, and computational power is an issue too. The system is a long way from being able to handle the millions of daily transactions conducted across financial markets. These limitations mean the financial industry still has time to ponder what the organisation of the future might look like. A gradual migration of existing infrastructures to a variety of decentralised systems is the most likely scenario. Yet the potential for innovation is enormous. If traditional players fail to grasp the opportunities, then others will be only too willing to fill the gap.
So as you can see, the video says or mentions three main important things. One is that it will eventually bring a lot of saving to any organization who implements and uses blockchain technology. Now that is going to come at a cost. So there's initially huge investment that's required to implement those technology. The third thing that the video tells, and it's there, is that for the banks it's going to take a lot of time because of the legacy systems that they have, because of different types of systems that they use. You know, banks here in the UAE use a different kind of system for account opening. They use a different type of system for credit cards. So it's going to be really challenging from that perspective for the banks to implement blockchain technology. And it's a bit, there's a bit of time to implement this. It's a new technology, and banks, finance companies should be working with the fintech and startup to embrace it, understand and implement it as soon as possible. One of the things that the blockchain does is it ensures that the transaction flow is faster, safer and secure. So it is a paradigm shift of making data flows at a smarter way, safer way and easier way, and that's what the banks will have to use it for. Let's move on to the next one, which is the robotic process automation. Now this is different to what blockchain is. So what is a robotic process automation? So the RPA is nothing but what a human does. So these are robots, which mimic human behavior, and they're used for repeatable, rule-based and high-volume transactions. So what does that mean? It means that whatever we do from bank reconciliation perspective, from reconciling suppliers data, inputting invoices and all this kind of stuff, that can be done by robots in a matter of seconds. I have another video on RPA which will show you how a robot works, and when you see it, you'll have to understand it's not human working, it's a bot working. But before that, let me give you some of the benefits that the bot brings in any sector. So RPAs are bringing around 80% time saving for any organization, and with 50% reduction in cost. And you'll see in the video how it does that. it's also changing the way people work. So people will be spending less time processing data and more time analyzing data. And that changes the way human right now working, especially in the banking sector. I come from a finance company background. We have, believe me, we have a lot of data that we process. And the use of RPA helps us automate and digitize a lot of processes that we have within the organization. So in the video, what we'll see is that a robot is downloading invoices from downloading PDF invoices from an email, converting those into an Excel, inputting data from that Excel to the system, and finally sending an email to the user confirming that the work has been completed. And that is what usually, officers and people in banks do as well. So we'll go to the video, and then we'll take some time to analyze it as well. Here they're showing the steps that the bot will be performing. So you can see the bot will transform data from PDF to Excel and then onto the system. Emails have been read and PDFs moved to a folder, which has been opened and now being filled. It's logged into the system itself without human interaction. It's filling up the forms. Final step, sending invoice via email. So a work that is done by a human in 15 minutes or more, depending upon how many coffee breaks you take, is done by a bot in less than a minute, hence saving significant amount of time and resources and money for any organization. There's a whole journey of robotic automation, and there are a lot of systems and technology that you may have heard about. IBM is one of them who've come up with Watson. So the journey of robotic process automation starts with basic RPAs, moving to cognitive RPAs, which are already in existence, chatbots, and then artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is where Watson and Holmes are there, which actually behaves and which actually uses cognitive learning to, improve their understanding of the system and the processes. A lot of use cases are there, and I thank Sakar for using a couple of them in his presentation. But my focus is going to be mainly on the banking sector. So the blockchain use cases are already there in the insurance companies. It's already there in the banking sector. It's already there in the healthcare sector. It's already there in freight forwarding, as Sakar mentioned as well. Now, why would blockchain change everything? So right now, I'll give you an example. So if I have to transfer money to any other country, say Australia or Canada, I have to go to a bank or an exchange company, right? Let's assume you're in UAE. I go to them. I say I need to transfer this money to a particular account in another country to this person. There is an intermediary involved. They will charge me a hell lot of money, and the transaction will take 2 to 3 days to go through to another country. With blockchain, the intermediary is completely eliminated, and that's the main aim of it, to reduce or remove the involvement of intermediaries and hence reducing cost. I can transfer Bitcoin from my e-wallet to anyone, anywhere in the world. With the use of blockchain, banks would not need intermediary. All the records will be available, and I would be able to transfer any amount that I want in any country to anyone in the world. RPA use cases, you can see one of the invoice processing was there. There are a lot of RPA use cases already available in the banking sector, be it bank reconciliations, deposit processing, customer service. That's one of the key areas that's developing from bots as well, checks processing and all this kind of stuff. Now, financial services sector is going to be impacted significantly by blockchain and RPAs. Now, they're the last one who's adopting it as well. There are companies and industries which have really been in an advanced stage in adopting these technology. And the main reason for that, there are two main reasons that I am aware of, are lack of regulatory, lack of regulation, and security concern. So one of the main things that we trust money in our bank is because of security. A lot of people say we don't trust the banks as well, but that's fine. But the main reason of us having money in our bank accounts is because of the security that level that they have. There have been a lot of instances where the accounts have been hacked and all this kind of stuff, but we still believe they're safer and secure. Blockchain makes it much, much safer than what the banks have. Your bank account, it has a number there. Your money, whatever you have, it's just a number in the bank account. So will the Bitcoin and all. There are also numbers there, but you actually own it in your e-wallet. You can transfer it yourself. You don't need intermediary, and that is much safer and secure. So the bank areas that the banking sector will be impacted from blockchain are mainly trade finance. There are companies which are working in ADGMs using their sandbox technology on trade finance. You would not need anyone to open LCs because of blockchain. You would not need banks to be intermediary in between. Lending, peer-to-peer lending is gaining significant traction. Why would you go to a bank to get some money when you can do it through blockchain technology using an investor in a much safer and faster way? Remittances, significant area that's been impacted, which is because of the intermediary that I just mentioned and the example that I just gave. You don't need someone to transfer money. You should be able to do it from your wallet to another wallet within seconds. Deposits, why do you need a bank to open an account or give you a checkbook, which will take 7 days to be issued, where you can get those Bitcoins, everything within seconds, and you can transact it on that platform. The RPAs, as I mentioned earlier, banks are being impacted on reconciliations, be it supplier reconciliation or bank reconciliation or any other reconciliation you want. People spend days on it. And believe me, we've been doing the same. We were spending days on making bank reconciliation and all this kind of stuff. But with RPAs, it's just a matter of seconds, finishing it off. Servicing a client, a lot of time we go to a branch, we have to go online, we have to call a bank, we don't get proper response. With chatbots, with robotic process automation, it will all be very simple and it will be easier for everyone. Customer interaction. Now, this is something which I'm sure people from the UAE would have seen. Emirates NBD has come up with their robo-advisor, and it's called Eva. I don't know why it's called Eva, but we have an employee in our organization called Eva as well, so she finds it very interesting. So, but they have a robo-advisor where you don't need any staff to interact with. You can go interact with the robo-advisor and get your stuff done. And they're faster. You know, one of the things that we human have a problem with, breaks, smoke breaks, coffee breaks, chat breaks, and all this kind of stuff, whereas bots don't do that. So I would like to just raise one question at the end of my presentation. And this is something that I really think every time when I look at blockchain and when I look at RPAs, is what will happen to the jobs? What will happen to our kids when they grow up? What sort of jobs will they have? You know, right now, people are working on reconciling stuff. Banks are acting as an intermediary. What will happen in the next 5-10 years when blockchain, gains momentum, when RP is embedded within the organization? And believe me, it's happening, because Dubai government has the vision of being the blockchain-powered city, powered city, and Abu Dhabi as well in the next 5-10 years. And that is going to happen. We can't run away from it. So what will happen to the jobs? What will happen to our kids? So when I ask that question to myself, I go back and look at history. What has happened in the last 10-15 years? Multiple jobs have vanished, but there are significant amount of jobs that have been created, like app developer. The app developer wasn't a job 10-15 years ago. It came after iPhone and Samsung launched their devices, where the app developer job became, very important, and there are a lot of app developers right now. So this is a cycle that will happen frequently every 10 years, 15 years, where new jobs will be created, old jobs will vanish, and the sooner we embrace these technologies and change ourselves, change the skill set that's required, the better for everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, Ghulam. Peer-to-peer lending he just mentioned. So next time, don't go to Abu Dhabi Finance. Check Mr. Ghulam first.
We are actually looking at partnering with peer-to-peer lender in UAE, and hopefully that will open more doors. And being a small organization, we can do all those stuff, which requires a lot of approval hierarchies and big banks. So that's really important. And partnership is one thing which I really believe in, either with the fintech companies, startups, or other peer-to-peer lender providers.
Right. Any question for Ghulam?
Ghulam, thanks for the presentation. My question is around what's happening now. Is there any project that you have seen a transaction has happened? Or I've heard about many projects that have started, but have you seen in your ecosystem a project where has in a state where the transactions are being registered, accepted, and being used? Or even your company, are you moving in that direction? Where are you in the journey?
So if you're specifically talking about blockchain, then in UAE I haven't seen any transaction happening right now, but there are entities like Dubai Lands Department that I mentioned. They're at the final stage of implementing blockchain for real estate transaction. There are companies which are working in ADGM, and I can share one example. So there's one company in ADGM which is working on the sandbox for eKYC. So you do not have to go to banks for every bank doing their own KYC, which is know your customer and all this kind of stuff, when opening account and all this and all the other stuff that they do. It will be all done through a blockchain technology, and every information, like my information, will be available to every other bank. So there are things which are happening. Have I seen anything in the banks outside UAE? Yes, there are banks. Sander Bank that Shak mentioned, that is the one which is using blockchain technology for all the remittances, and that's why Emirates NBD is using, which is one of the biggest bank in UAE, is working on the pilot project. They're expected to launch it by end of 2018. They're working with a bank in India to do that, and they're expected to do that. The biggest problem with blockchain right now, especially in the UAE, is the regulation, lack of regulation, and the regulatory bodies are a bit behind in embracing and accepting this and coming up with regulation to help banks implement these technology.
Thank you.
There's one question, then we will move on for the third speech.
Hi, I'm Nadeem Bardouil from BSA law firm in the IFC. If you look at buzzwords for the year, blockchain is one of them, cybercrimes is probably another. So when we look at blockchain, we say, you've said it and the speaker before has said it, that blockchain is a more secure platform, and one of the advantages is security. My question to you is, have you seen or have you gotten any kind of experience or seen any examples of how secure blockchain can really be? And I'm asking this because we've seen examples of blockchain platforms that have succumbed to hacks. We've seen, I mean, it's been in the news for about a year and a half now. It's happened before. And when you look at security, if you have a door or window that has the strongest lock will do nothing if the door is left open, or if you give access to a thief to walk into it. At the end of the day, there's always a human element to it. So what have you seen, especially thinking of the banking sector, what have you seen, any kind of ventures? And I'm guessing this would apply as well to the next two speakers. We'll talk about health. These are big concerns. I mean, health data and banking data is very sensitive. Thanks.
I think that's one of the important thing that everybody is concerned about, is the security, encryption levels, and all this kind of stuff. So let me be very clear. This is my personal view, and you can. There are a lot of speakers who will disagree to that. Is like everyone thinks blockchain is the safest and the most secure system or in the world. I tend to disagree. I don't think so. Anything can be the safest in the world. You cannot have it. Now, yes, I do agree that the level of security is significantly high because of the encryption across all the blocks that are there, across all the levels, across all the parties that are involved. So the level of encryption increases. Now, I didn't read the article, but I got it through the notification today that Bitcoin system has been hacked, but I'm not sure. So I need to really see whether it's true or not. One minor progress. So I haven't read that article, but it's not going to be impossible to hack anything, because whatever we do, hackers are, in my view, much smarter, right? And they will come up with something to hack these things. Now, how is it different from existing platforms? Well, your data or my data in a particular hospital can still be hacked, right? What blockchain does, it gives more security, and because of the different blocks and different integration that it has with encryption. My data with the banks that they have my data can be hacked. There are banks in the UAE where credit card information has been stolen, where your loan details have been stolen, your IDs have been stolen. So if we are able to trust the banks, why are we nervous of trusting this? So you have to look at it from that angle. So is it the most safest, or is it the safest thing? No. But it's much safer than what we have right now. Does that answer? Sort of, or no? Correct.
But is there anything out there, any venture that you've seen? I'm thinking, because you come from the banking sector, where you've seen someone implement any kind of either it's software or it's any kind of application where they said, look, we see the gaps in security and blockchain, and we want to plug them in this specific way.
Well, in the UAE, I haven't seen that till now. I hope when Emirates NBD comes up with something, we'll have a better case study in the UAE. I'm not pretty much aware of what the international banks have done on that front, but I know one thing for a fact, that both ADGM and DFC, you're from DFC, right, are working on it. They have technology, startups and fintechs which are coming in, bringing all these things into it. So I know for a fact. It's a wait and see game in the UAE, because anyways, the country is behind in terms of certain technological changes, and the regulator really need to come up, and the central bank is still behind. The ADGM and DFC are doing well, but the central bank has to really pick up.
We have to move for the next one if we can have further questions. All right, go ahead, please.
3 times. You say the regulator should regulate blockchain. Can you specify what the regulator should actually do?
I'm not saying regulators should regulate blockchain. I'm saying regulator needs to come up with ways of how transactions using blockchain are regulated. So blockchain technology doesn't need regulation, but the transactions that the bank will do using blockchain needs to be regulated, and that's where the regulation needs to come in. So let's take one simple example. So we're a mortgage finance company, right? So we offer mortgage financing to customers. Now, the Central Bank of the UAE requires you to look at the physical document, passport copies, Emirates ID, and all this kind of stuff, and then do the KYC checks. The blockchain will make sure that, as Sakar mentioned as well, you just tell, this is my Emirates ID number, KYC should be done. Now, these are the things where the regulator needs to really, gear up and say, well, it's an example. So, but if you're talking about financial transaction example, money flowing from here and there requires regulation to be there. So if I'm transferring money from UAE to Canada, there's AML checks and all this kind of stuff, which has to go through. So those will have to be redefined or changed in a manner which is whereby banks are able to adopt it using blockchain technology. Are you from a regulator?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not here to offend regulator. I'm just saying they have to really gear up.
I'm just curious of what you think can be regulated. And that's all my questions.
All right, perfect.
Right. Thank you very much, Ghulam, for a wonderful discussion.